Shocking. Billionaire returns home after 21 years only to find his adopted dad begging NIGHBORS. The sky darkened as Ethan stepped off the private jet, the sound of its engine fading into an eerie silence. It had been 21 long years since he fled this place, a mansion now cloaked in shadow and mystery. Once, it had gleamed like the crown jewel of the wealthy, but now it looked haunted, like the memories whispering through its cracked walls. And there, on the yellowed lawn, he spotted a figure, a familiar silhouette that twisted his gut. His adopted father, Harold, stood hunched over and trembling. The man who once commanded respect now looked like a beggar, his hands outstretched towards the curious neighbors who gawked from their porches. Ethan's heart pounded as he took a shaky step forward. What had happened here? A chill gripped him, tightening like a vice. Had they lost everything? The stories he heard, once exaggerated over family dinners, suddenly seemed maddeningly real. The locals gossiped in hushed tones, their eyes wide with shock at the sight of Harold's desperate plea. "Did you see him? He is begging like he has got nowhere to turn," someone murmured, and Ethan felt the blood drain from his face. Danger lurked beneath the surface of their conversations, a current of secrets that stank of betrayal and desperation. Tall weeds choked the driveway, and drug-fueled laughter erupted from the nearby houses. The world he once knew had devolved into chaos. Shadows danced in the corners of wood-paneled rooms, and the air rippled with tension as neighbors watched, some with pity, others with disdain. Ethan felt their eyes, slicing into him, pulling him back into dark memories. He remembered laughter, the warmth of family dinners. Was it all a lie? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Ethan's stomach churned as he approached Harold, the man who had raised him, only to see him reduced to this wreck. Tears pricked Ethan's eyes, and he fought them back. He had so many questions screaming for attention. What had chased his father to this point? Why had he begged the neighbors who had once looked up to him? The ground beneath Ethan felt unstable, as if the very foundations of his life were crumbling. Could he ever trust this place again? Would Harold even be able to face him? And yet, as the clouds rolled over, he felt an irresistible pull, a need to uncover the truth hidden under layers of shame and secrecy. The sound of distant sirens hinted at a much darker narrative looming just beyond the horizon. Something was desperately wrong, and he had to know. Ethan's heart raced as he reached his father. Harold's pallid face, shadows etched deep around his eyes, told stories of torment better than any words could. "Dad?" Ethan's voice trembled, thick with disbelief and anguish. Harold jerked up, surprise and despair flickering across his features. Recognition washed over him, mingling with panic. "Ethan," he breathed, like the name was a lifeline breaking through the suffocating dark. "You're back." "I didn't." He think his voice cracked, and for a moment, it felt as if the world had paused, holding its breath. Ethan wanted to comfort him, but the sight of his father's feeble figure made the words stick in his throat. He shifted his gaze back to the neighbors, who were now completely enraptured by the unfolding drama. Whispers buzzed like angry wasps, words like shame and bankruptcy slicing through the air. "Why are you here?" Ethan steadied himself, forcing his voice to remain even. "What happened to us?" Harold's shoulders slumped slightly, as if the weight of the question bore down harder than before. It's complicated," he muttered, his eyes darting nervously away. "You don't understand, Ethan. Things fell apart so quickly, so terribly. Quickly? Terribly? Ethan felt anger flare through him, but it was mixed with suffocating fear. What do you mean? Did you lose it all? The company? The house? It's not just that, Harold gasped, a trembling hand reaching out hesitantly toward Ethan, a cry for help. There are people involved. People who won't let this go. Ethan shuddered as Harold's words sunk in. People? What kinds of people? His father hesitated, eyes darting towards the silent witnesses on the street. You need to understand. You should never have come back here. I thought I could protect you. Before Ethan could respond, a loud thud echoed from the mansion behind them, reverberating through the remnants of his childhood. His heart froze. What was that? He turned sharply, instinctively heading toward the sound, the urge to uncover hidden truths outweighing the hollowness in Harold's eyes. Before they reached the door, it creaked open, revealing a silhouette standing at the threshold. The figure was dimly lit, barely discernible, but Ethan recognized the menacing presence immediately. Ethan. The voice was low and laced with malice, sending a shiver crawling down Ethan's spine. Welcome home. His instinct screamed at him to flee. But there was nowhere to run. He had come back for the truth, and now it stared him in the face like a venomous snake poised to strike. What do you want? Ethan demanded, stepping forward defiantly, even as dread tightened its grip around him. The silhouette stepped into the light, revealing a familiar smirk, one that made Ethan's stomach twist violently. You should know. There are consequences to family secrets, even the ones buried deep. Ethan's breath caught in his throat, as every alarm bell rang in his head. What had he walked into? What secrets did his father hide that could pull everyone back into a nightmare? He rushed to Harold's side, unsure whether to shield him or demand answers. But as the figure leaned back against the doorway, the night air thickened with tension, a darkness creeping closer. The rustling leaves whispered warnings, and the atmosphere grew electric with danger, leaving Ethan teetering on the edge of a revelation that could shatter everything he thought he knew. What had been unleashed an avalanche of secrets, lies, and a fight for survival had only just begun. As he stood there, staring into the shadows of the past, a single question loomed large in Ethan's mind. Was he prepared to face the truth, no matter the cost? Ethan felt bile rise in his throat. The familiar smirk on the figure's face twisted into something more grotesque, a cruel combination of pleasure and malice. Memories flooded back, youthful laughter, silly arguments, but now they were tainted by the violence of betrayal. Who do you think you are? Ethan spat, clenching his fists to suppress trembling anger. Oh, sweet boy, the voice dripped with condescension. I'm someone who knows exactly what your father has been hiding. And believe me, it's far worse than anything you can imagine. Next to him, Harold's face crumpled. For the first time, fear etched lines of despair across his brow. Please, you don't have to do this, he whispered, desperation squeezing his voice like a vice. Ethan's heart pounded. He could feel the whispers of the crowd on his skin, the invisible weight of their scrutiny. The weight of their judgment felt like lead. I want answers, he demanded, desperation bleeding into his tone. Answers? You're going to give more than that. The figure took a step forward, the shadows stretching behind him. You're going to get the truth. Before Ethan could process the implication, the figure lunged, grabbing Harold by the shoulder. The air thick with tension felt like it might snap. You see, Harold, the figure sneered, you thought you could keep everything buried. But you underestimated me and your own son. Ethan's mind raced. The way the stranger spoke felt personal, like a vendetta simmering just beneath the surface. He stepped forward, not caring about the spectators, feeling an adrenaline rush fueled by a deep protectiveness for his father. Let him go. The figure's grip tightened, eyes narrowing dangerously. Or what? You'll fight me? I wouldn't, he recommended. A flicker of amusement danced in his gaze. You're out of your depth, kid. And then the world tilted. The figure shoved Harold back, causing him to stumble. Ethan lunged forward instinctively, catching his father before he fell. The gasp of the crowd filled the air, echoing like a haunting siren. "Are you okay?" Ethan whispered, fear flooding through him. Harold seemed fragile, like glass nearly shattered. "I'm sorry," Ethan, his father croaked, his voice cracking under the weight of more than just years. "I didn't want you to see this. I tried to keep you away to keep you safe." But Ethan shook his head, his anger now a storm swirling inside. "Safe from what? From the truth? From the people I owe." Harold's voice dropped to a whisper, "From the consequences of my mistakes." The figure watched them, arms crossed, lips twisting in a smirk that would haunt Ethan's dreams. "And now, my friend, the game changes." Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from within the mansion. Ethan's stomach dropped. The noise cut through the heavy atmosphere like a knife. What was that? "It's not over," the figure taunted, taking a step back, as chaos danced in his eyes. "It's just begun." Everything froze for a heartbeat as fear rolled off Ethan like waves crashing against a shore. The shadows lengthened, a crawling darkness creeping closer with each passing second. He realized then that this wasn't just about family secrets, this was a war, and he was unprepared for the battlefield that lay ahead. As he steadied Harold, Ethan knew deep down that they had crossed a threshold. There would be no turning back now. The truth was a hunter, and it was closing in fast. And then a figure dashed through the doorway behind the smirking traitor. A sharp intake of breath filled the space. Who was it? A pulse of hope surged in Ethan's veins. Could this be the ally he so desperately needed? Or would this just be another betrayal waiting to unfold? The answers loomed overhead, insistent and terrifying, and he could feel time running out. The figure burst into the room, breathless, a wild look in their eyes. Ethan's heart raced as he strained to make out the details. It was a woman tall, with dark hair framing a face that was both familiar and foreign. In that chaotic moment, recognition hit him like a cold wave. It was Lily, his childhood friend, the girl who had vanished from his life without explanation. "Ethan! We need to get out of here!" she shouted, cutting through the tension like a knife. But her urgency only added fuel to the fire smoldering in the room. The smirking figure rolled his eyes, annoyance dripping from him like venom. "Ah, the prodigal daughter returns," he mocked, taking a casual step toward her. "You think you can just walk back into this mess? You have no idea what you're dealing with." Lily didn't flinch, her gaze steady like a fortress wall. "You think I'm scared of you?" She stepped closer, the confidence radiating from her as fierce as the chaos around them. "I know what you've done, and the truth has a way of unraveling your lies." Ethan's pulse quickened. "What do you mean, Lily? You're back, why now? What do you know?" With a single glance, she placed her hand on his arm, grounding him. "We don't have time for questions. I have information about your father's secrets. Information that could change everything." The weight of her words pressed heavy on Ethan's chest. He opened his mouth, but the figure interrupted, sneering, "Nice reunion, really. But unless you two plan on playing house while I'm here, you should know, your father's debts are coming due. And I intend to collect." Harold let out a ragged breath, his face paler than before. "Ethan, please, you don't understand." The crowd murmured, their faces painted with shock and curiosity. Ethan felt their eyes boring into him, their breaths holding a collective disbelief at the spiraling events. He risked a glance toward the figure, who still loomed dangerously close, a serpent ready to strike. "Why are you doing this?" Ethan demanded, forcing brave words through a throat tight with fear. "What do you get from tearing apart my family?" "That's rich coming from you," the figure hissed, edging closer. "Your father had a plan to betray me, he simply forgot his debt isn't just financial. It's a bond sealed in blood. And blood is what I'll have if he doesn't pay. Ethan's stomach turned. The walls of the room felt like they were closing in, suffocating him. The stakes had become personal, far too personal. Get away from us, Ethan shouted, unsure if he meant just for himself or for Harold as well. Suddenly, a commotion erupted outside the mansion. Shouts, the sound of scraping metal, chaos and confusion erupted from the once quiet night. Something was happening, a distraction. Lily took a step back, her eyes scanning the scene with sharp awareness. This is our chance. We can't let him take you down. Wait, what about my dad? Ethan yelled, torn between the chaotic scenes and his fear of further consequence. Stay close and don't look back, she urged, determination tightening her jaw. Whatever you do, trust me. Ethan hesitated, fear clawing at his insides, battling a thread of hope threading through. Was this an opportunity to break free? Before he could process it, the figure raised an arm, signal for silence, and against all odds, the room quieted. I give you one chance, Harold. Choose wisely, he said, a twisted smile breaking across his face. Lose everything, or confess your sins. Tension hung thick, like a heartbeat captured in glass. Ethan felt frozen in place, the dual reality of loyalty to his father and the potential for long-awaited truth colliding in a split second. And then the moment shattered. The door burst open, and a new figure stepped through, silhouetted against the chaos. Ethan's breath hitched. Who was this new player in his already twisted game? He felt the shadows closing in, the weight of the unknown pulling at him. Time was slipping away. Might they finally unravel the truth? Or was the truth just a weapon in a war he never volunteered for? Ethan's heart raced, adrenaline coursing through his veins. The figure who had just entered had the unmistakable look of someone he couldn't easily forget. Tall, imposing, and dressed in a sharp suit that screamed power, this man was a storm wrapped in silk. And as the newcomer stepped further into the room, Ethan's breath caught in his throat. It was Blake, an old business associate of his father's, a face that brought with it memories tainted by whispers of betrayal and greed. What are you doing here, Blake? Ethan ground out, every word heavy with hostility. Blake's icy smile gave nothing away. Ethan, my boy. Such a cozy family reunion we have here, he crooned, his voice a silken trap laced with menace. I just couldn't miss out on this little spectacle. It's quite the show, watching the unraveling of secrets. Lily shifted protectively closer to Ethan, her eyes darting between Blake and the man who had been threatening them. This isn't your business, Blake, she said, her confidence rising like a tide. Leave now, while you still can. Ah, but it is my business, Blake retorted, shrugging with casual indifference. Your father has quite the web of lies tucked away. And they're finally coming to light. Those debts? They're just the beginning. Ethan felt sick. The tension was palpable. He could almost taste it. The crowd outside grew louder, commotion spilling into the room, yet he felt trapped in this swirling storm of revelations, family ties, and impending doom. Harold, Blake called out, turning his attention to Ethan's father, who looked more frail than Ethan had ever seen him. Care to share your side of the story? Or shall I? Harold's face twisted in fear and regret, his wide eyes reflecting a lifetime of burdens. You don't understand, Blake. I had no choice. I thought I could protect Ethan and keep you off my back. Protect? Ha! Blake scoffed, his laughter echoing cruelly around the room. You think shielding him from the truth is protection? He turned toward Ethan, drawing closer, a predator on the hunt. Did you think all those gifts and luxuries came without a price? That house? The cars? They are shackles, my dear boy. Lily's grip tightened on Ethan's arm, her warmth grounding him against the chill of Blake's words. You're lying, Ethan said, a question as much as a plea. None of this means anything if my father didn't he mean to hurt anyone. Didn't he mean to? Oh, sweet Ethan, your naivety is adorable, Blake sneered, leaning into Ethan's space. Every choice he made led him here, led you here. The real question is, what will you do now? The air in the room thickened, and a sudden crash jolted everyone's attention back to the chaos outside. A window shattered, glass raining down amidst shouts that spilled in, igniting an urgency that sliced through the tension. Ethan! We have to move, Lily shouted, pulling him towards the door. But Ethan's feet felt like lead, anchored by the truth swirling around him like dark clouds. Dad? He looked back, searching for answers in Harold's stricken expression. Go! Now! Harold's voice pierced through the chaos, desperate but commanding. The ground trembled beneath Ethan as he turned, propelled forward by Lily's fierce resolve. Just as they reached the threshold, Blake called out one last time, the venom in his tone as sharp as a knife. Remember, Ethan, this game has only just begun. You haven't even begun to scratch the surface. As they dashed into the night, heart pounding and thoughts racing, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that they had only escaped one danger to tumble into another. What awaited them outside, in the darkness? The screams from the crowd echoed in his ears as uncertainty became a familiar companion at his side. What had his father truly buried, and how far would he have to dig to uncover it? The night air hit Ethan like a cold slap to the face. They stumbled out of the building, the chaos outside swirling into a tempest. Cries and shouting mixed with the distant wail of sirens, a cacophony that sent a chill down his spine. He and Lily sprinted into the throng, weaving through the gathering crowd, each face a mask of confusion and fear. Where do we go? Ethan shouted over the din, his blood pounding in his ears. The streetlights flickered above, casting eerie shadows that danced like specters along the pavement. Lily's grip on his arm was firm, her determination a quiet anchor against the turmoil surrounding them. We need to find somewhere safe, she urged, scanning the street for any signs of refuge. They ducked behind a parked car, hearts racing and breaths coming in rapid bursts. Ethan could feel the weight of Blake's words haunting him, each syllable a lingering threat hanging in the air. What did he mean? He gasped, trying to catch his breath. What did Dad do? Lily turned, her eyes bright with urgency. We can't think about that now. Right now, we need to. A sudden explosion of glass shattered nearby, and the sharp crack rang through the night like a gunshot. Panic erupted around them, the crowd scattering in every direction. Ethan's instinct kicked in, and he grabbed Lily's hand, pulling her deeper into the shadows of an alley. Over here, he hissed, dragging her away from the chaos. They stumbled into the narrow opening between two buildings, surrounded by bricks that felt both constricting and comforting at the same time. Crouching low, Ethan pressed his back against the damp wall, his pulse hammering in his throat. What is happening? His voice trembled, edged with fear. They were in the middle of something far bigger than either of them could have imagined. Lily whispered earnestly, We need to call the police. Tell them we're here. Would that even help? Ethan interrupted, struggling to maintain his composure. Despair welled up inside him, and for a moment he could see the tension etched on Lily's face. If Blake is right, if Dad really is involved in something dangerous, his thoughts spiraled like an out-of-control roller coaster. Her hand tightened in his. Listen to me. We need to focus on getting away, she insisted, but her eyes flickered with doubt. Suddenly, footsteps echoed in the alleyway, heavy and purposeful. Ethan and Lily exchanged a panicked glance, the air thick with impending dread. They weren't alone anymore. Do you hear that? Ethan's heart raced, each beat echoing in his ears like a countdown. Stay quiet, Lily urged, pulling closer to him. They held their breaths as shadows loomed closer, the figures of two men materializing in the dim light. Ethan strained to hear their words. Find them. They can't be far. One of them growled, his voice low and threatening. The knot in Ethan's stomach twisted painfully. "Who are they?" he whispered, and Lily pressed a finger to her lips, hushing him. As the men passed, their shuffling footsteps faded slightly but didn't disappear. The tension hung heavy, broken only by sporadic shouting from the crowd above. Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that they were being hunted. "What do we do?" he said, panic leaking into his voice. Before Lily could answer, Ethan felt a faint vibration in his pocket. His phone. He swallowed hard, weighing the pros and cons of making a call, but he quickly pulled it out just to check. One missed call. No number he recognized. Who would be calling now? He muttered, but a chilling thought crossed his mind. "Ethan, is that?" Lily began, but the look on his face interrupted her. He glanced back at the shadows moving closer, feeling the urgency twist around them like barbed wire. "If we stay here, we won't survive this. We have to find out what is really going on." With determination flaring in his chest, Ethan tugged Lily's hand. "Let us go." They crept into the dark, uncertainty their only companion. The night was far from over, and danger lurked around every corner. Would they uncover the truth about his father, or would they become another part of the web of lies? Only one thing was certain. Ethan was ready to dig deeper, but what if the truth was buried far more sinister than he ever imagined? The alley closed in around Ethan and Lily as they moved deeper into its shadows, the sound of distant commotion now muffled. Ethan's heart thumped wildly, an insistent drum echoing the fear that clawed at his throat. "We need to find a way out of here," he whispered, urgency wrapped in every syllable. Lily nodded, her face pale but determined. "There is always a back street or an older path. We just have to remember which way we came," she said, her eyes flitting between the narrow walls. Suddenly, a thundering crash jolted them from their focus, an explosion nearby that felt all too close. Instinctively, they both ducked behind a pile of discarded crates, their breaths shallow, bodies tense like wound springs. Ethan peered over the crates. Light flickered from half-destroyed street lamps, casting jagged shadows that looked almost alive against the brick walls. He could see those men moving further down the alley, their voices low and conspiratorial, punctuated by the sounds of their boots crunching rubble. "We have to move," he urged, scanning for an escape. "Wait," Lily replied, her voice barely above a whisper. She pointed to a faded door at the end of the alley. "That might lead outside." Ethan swallowed hard, resisting the urge to check his phone again. What if there is someone on the other side? "We won't know unless we try," she said, steeling herself. There was a fire in her gaze that pushed back Ethan's fears just enough. Together, then, he decided, determined not to leave her side. They crept toward the door, hearts pounding in sync with the chaos outside. Each step was a leap into the unknown, filled with all the dread that had been building since they first fled the building. When they reached the door, it hung slightly ajar, as if inviting them in. Ethan pressed his ear against it, listening for any signs of danger. But all he heard was the swell of the night, a mixture of sirens, yells, and the faintest hint of something sinister brewing in the air. "Ready?" he asked, hand resting on the cold, rusty handle. Lily nodded, determination hardening her features. "Let us go." The door creaked ominously as Ethan pushed it open, revealing a dimly lit room. It smelled of damp wood and dust. Old crates lined one wall like silent sentinels. But the space felt empty, almost abandoned, a stark contrast to the chaos outside. Once inside, they quickly closed the door and leaned against it, their breaths heavy and quick. The silence enveloped them like a shroud. "Do you think they notice we're gone?" Lily whispered, her voice tinged with dread. Ethan shook his head, trying to shake off the sense of foreboding. "They're looking for us. We can't stay here long." Around them, Shadows danced ominously, the flickering light from a single bulb above doing little to ease the anxiety building in the back of his mind. "We need to find a way out of here," he muttered again, scanning for another door or a window. Just as he stepped further into the room, a loud bang echoed outside, sending tremors through his chest. He felt a tug at the edges of his consciousness, a throbbing urgency warning that something was coming. His phone vibrated again, this time louder, as if demanding his attention. He took it out, heart racing not just from fear, but from something else, something poignant that made him hesitate. "Ethan!" Lily gasped, pointing at the window. "Look!" Through the cracked glass, the night took on an eerie glow, lighting up the scraps of paper swirling in the wind. There, amidst the swirling chaos, a figure stood silhouetted against the light. Tall and imposing, it was hard to make out, but something in the stance felt menacing. "Who is that?" he breathed, dread pooling in his gut. I don't know," Lily stuttered, her eyes wide with fear. "Should we go see?" Before Ethan could answer, the figure turned sharply, revealing a familiar face. A jolt of shock shot through him. It was someone he thought he'd never see again. "Ethan!" the figure shouted, urgency lacing their voice. "Dad?" Ethan whispered, disbelief pulsing in his veins. But just as he processed the impossibility of the reunion, the chaos outside erupted into madness. "Run!" Lily screamed, and the world began to crumble once more. Ethan reached for Lily, adrenaline surging. "No! We have to find out what is happening, what he wants." But the gale of uncertainty had returned, swirling around them with a vengeance. Whatever awaited them next would change everything, and right now, answers lay just beyond their grasp. "Not yet," Ethan murmured, stealing a glance at the figure, one truth emerging amidst the chaos. But as they prepared to face it, a crackle of electricity surged in the air, promising that the night was far from over. What secrets were entwined in the shadows? What truth had been waiting to be uncovered? That question lingered heavy as they stood on the edge of revelation. Would luck be on their side this time? Ethan's heart raced as he stared through the grimy window at the figure, the man who had been absent for so long. A ghost from his past suddenly turned flesh and blood. The pandemonium outside loomed in the background, but in that moment, all he could focus on was the reality of his father standing there, alive and frantic. "Ethan, get out of here!" his father shouted again, his tone laced with desperation. The urgency in his voice sliced through the chaos around them. It surged like a current, pushing Ethan to action. "Lily," Ethan whispered, glancing back at her. Her wide eyes were filled with a mix of disbelief and fear, reflecting the turmoil swirling within him. "What do we do? We can't just leave him," she protested, folding her arms tightly, as if to steel her resolve. "He has been looking for you." But Ethan's mind was racing. He hadn't spoken to his dad in years, not since that night everything changed. The hurt, the anger, the questions, all of it came rushing back like a tidal wave. And yet, buried beneath was a hint of hope that flickered in the depths of his chest. "Let us hear what he has to say," Ethan decided, determination solidifying in his voice. He moved towards the door, and Lily reluctantly followed. Just as Ethan reached for the knob, the building shook violently. The door rattled in its frame, as if someone was trying to break it down. Ethan's pulse quickened, and he exchanged a quick glance with Lily, both of them aware that every second counted. "We can't wait any longer," he blurted, wrenching the door open. The chilly night air hit them like a slap, the distant sounds of chaos now painfully clear. "Ethan, this way!" His father's voice cut through the madness as he beckoned them closer. "What the hell is happening?" Ethan shouted, glancing nervously down the alley. Shadows moved erratically. He could almost feel their shadows creeping along the walls, pressing against their shoulders like icy fingers. His father's face twisted with worry. "They're coming for you. We need to go now. There's no time to explain. Just trust me." Ethan hesitated. He looked into his father's eyes, searching for answers amidst the panic, but the truth was obscured, tangled in fear and urgency. "Trust you? After all these years? Why should I?" "Because I'm still your father, Ethan," his father yelled back, sincerity crackling in his tone. "I never meant for any of this to happen." A sharp cry echoed from the alley, startling them. "We can't stay," Lily urged, tugging at Ethan's arm. "We need to go." With a surge of resolve, Ethan stepped forward. "Okay, let us move. But you need to tell me everything later." The three of them slipped into the alley, where the remnants of chaos and debris cluttered the ground. Ethan felt the adrenaline coursing through his veins as they hurried along, Lily's presence solid beside him, his father guiding them with a firm grip. "Through here," his father pointed, leading them into a narrow passageway that ran alongside the building. The air felt electric, heavy with something ominous that made Ethan's skin crawl. But as they stepped deeper into the shadows, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that they were entering a trap. The knot in his gut twisted tighter. Unease flooded him with every step. "Why now?" he pressed, urgency in his voice. "What is happening? Why are they after me?" "Because you're part of something bigger than you know," his father replied, eyes darting around as they pressed on. "They think you have something they want." Ethan swallowed hard, feeling the weight of a truth he couldn't yet comprehend. Before he could respond, a loud crash exploded behind them, sending waves of dust and debris into the air. The passageway shook around them, and he could hear their pursuers closing in. "Go, go, go!" Lily shouted, shoving him forward as they raced through the darkness. Fear wiped away any lingering hopes for answers, and they plunged deeper into the unknown. In the distance, a flicker of light promised escape, but also uncertainty. Shadows loomed closer, and Ethan could feel the gnawing presence of danger just on their heels. Would they make it? Would he find out the truth before it was too late? The unknown stretched before them like a dark chasm waiting to swallow them whole, and they charged onward, the adrenaline jolting them into the night. What awaited them in that light? And would they find safety or an even greater peril? The night was still young, but its secrets were spiraling out of control, just as the hunted were about to discover that the chase had only just begun. Ethan pushed ahead, fueled by adrenaline and fear. The light in the distance flickered like a beacon, but the shadows scampering behind them felt more like a noose tightening around his throat. Lily's grip on his arm was firm, her presence a grounding force amid the chaos. "Just keep running," his father commanded, glancing back as the echo of heavy footsteps grew louder. Panic washed over Ethan like a dark tide, but he forced himself to focus on putting one foot in front of the other, each step taking him deeper into a lurking terror. Ahead, the narrow passage opened up into a dimly lit courtyard cluttered with forgotten trash and metal scraps, the air thick with the smell of smoke. The flickering light turned out to be old neon signage, rusty and flickering, as if the building itself was teetering on the edge of collapse. "Over there," his father shouted, pointing towards a doorway at the far side of the courtyard. Ethan's heart sank. It looked abandoned. How could this possibly be safe? But before he could voice his concerns, Lily yanked him towards the doorway. They thundered across the courtyard, footsteps pounding against the concrete. The sound of pursuit surged behind them, a clattering like ghosts chasing them away from sanity. "Ethan! Hurry!" Lily screamed, her eyes frantic. The doorway loomed larger, and they rushed toward it as if sprinting toward a lifeline. They burst through the door, plunging into a darkened interior. Ethan's breathing was rapid, the air thickening around them, as they stumbled into a long corridor. His father pulled the door shut behind them with a heavy thud, the sound echoing like a death knell, and for a moment, they stand still, hearts racing in unison. "What do we do now?" Ethan rasped, bracing against the wall to catch his breath, his pulse wild in his throat. "We need to find a way out," his father said, scanning their surroundings, a tapestry of shadows and debris. "They can't follow us in here." "Not yet." "How do you know?" Ethan's voice trembled. The chaotic shadows from the night outside morphed into an awkward calm inside, but the tension was palpable. "Trust me, Ethan," his father said, frustration building on his brow. "I wouldn't have come back if I didn't know what is at stake." "Yeah, well, you should have thought about that before disappearing for 21 years. Ethan shot back, a sharp edge to his anger. The pain of abandonment resurfaced with a vengeance, his father's reappearance stirring emotions he desperately wanted to suppress. Before his father could respond, a loud crash reverberated through the building, shaking the walls around them. Papers fluttered down from a nearby ledge, and plaster dust rained from the ceiling. Ethan instinctively grabbed Lily's hand, his heart pounding a frantic dirge of fear. "They've found us," his father shouted. "We need to move now." Gripping Lily's hand tightly, he stumbled deeper into the corridor, their only hope to escape the oncoming dread. Just as they turned the corner, Ethan spotted something shimmering in the dim light, a strange metal panel embedded in the wall, cold and unexplained. "What is that?" he gasped, his curiosity piqued despite the overwhelming fear. His father turned sharply. "No time. We can't stop." But Ethan was already moving closer, the panel calling to him with a strange allure. What if it held the answers to everything? Would it explain why they were being hunted? What did they really want from him? "Ethan, don't!" Lily cried, her voice slipping into panic. His fingers grazed the surface, a sharp jolt sliding through him like electricity. A haunting whisper echoed in his mind, too fast to comprehend, but powerful enough to send chills racing down his spine. He felt as if time itself held its breath. Then the sound of heavy footsteps slammed against the surrounding walls, loud enough to shake him from his trance. They were closer now. With one last glance at the panel, and an indecipherable urgency sweeping over him, he turned back towards his father. "We need to get out of here." But as they rushed from the corridor, Ethan had a feeling of dread. Whatever they were running from would catch them. They'd been thrust into something bigger than they had ever anticipated, a mystery spiraling with danger. What lay ahead in this dark maze? Would they find the key to surviving the night, or was their fate already sealed? In the depths of shadows and unanswered questions, Ethan felt an unsettling truth rising like a storm, as the sound of footsteps approached, merging with a chilling silence that spoke of imminent danger. The air in the corridor buzzed with panic and urgency as Ethan, Lily, and his father sprinted deeper into the unknown. The faint glow of the neon sign from outside flickered ominously behind them, casting shadows that felt alive in the dim light of the building. Every footfall echoed the menacing footsteps of those pursuing them, the pounding of their hearts a race against time. "Where do we go?" Ethan gasped, his breath coming in sharp, frantic bursts. "We can't just keep running." His father, Harold, glanced around, his desperation visible in the sweat glistening on his brow. "If we can reach the basement, we might find a way out, an escape route." His voice dripped with urgency, the weight of years lost and regret hanging heavy in the air. "But we have to move fast." Suddenly, a crash echoed down the hall, deafening in the tense silence that had settled around them. Ethan turned, the terror surging through him, nearly choking him, as he felt the shadows closing in. "They're coming!" he shouted, adrenaline spiking. "Run!" Lily yelled, tugging at Ethan's hand with fierce determination. The three of them surged forward, plunging into the darkness ahead, as echoes of the world outside felt more and more distant. They veered past debris and shattered glass, entering a wider space that opened into a set of stairs spiraling downward. The air grew colder, a chill creeping up Ethan's spine. "This way," his father urged, launching forward, leading them down the curving staircase. With every step, Ethan could feel the tension building, a pressure that threatened to explode. "Dad, what really happened all those years? Why are we in danger?" he shouted, his voice filled with anger and fear. "I will explain everything, promise," Harold panted, but there was a panic in his eyes that didn't offer much comfort. "You need to trust me right now." Lily's hand tightened around Ethan's, her eyes flashing with a mixture of bravery and dread. "Keep moving. We can't stop," she urged, her resolve steadying him amid the chaos. Just then, another loud crash echoed, this time accompanied by a strange, low growl of voices. The pursuers were relentless, getting closer and closer. The urgency propelled Ethan down the stairs, each pulse quickening despite his fears clawing at his lungs. They reached the bottom of the staircase, the dim light revealing a cramped, faded basement littered with old boxes and machinery. A chilling silence settled over them, and the air felt charged, as if something dormant within these walls was awakening. "There might be a way out through that door." Harold pointed to a small door shoved aside, its edges rusted and covered in dirt. "What if it's a trap?" Ethan protested, a lump in his throat. "Do you think we have a choice?" Lily said pointedly, looking at the stairs where flickers of shadow danced in the light. Ethan nodded, forcing himself to push through. Together, they lurched forward, shoving the door open. It creaked like a wailing ghost, revealing a tunnel leading out, the cold air rushing over them like icy fingers. "Go! Go!" They piled into the tunnel, the musty scent wrapping around them. Behind them, the voices zoomed closer. "They were here. Don't let them escape." The urgency in the voices gave Ethan wings. The tunnel felt endless, dark, damp, echoing their panicked whispers. As they ran deeper, adrenaline coursing through them, Harold's voice broke through, solemn yet trembling. "Everything I tried to protect you from, it's all connected. The debts, the secrets, the people who want revenge." Ethan spun. "You owe someone. What have you done?" His voice wavered between hurt and anger, the depth of his father's betrayal cutting deeper than he wanted to admit. "It's complicated. Just know it never was for you. Everything I did was to protect our family," Harold shouted, anger peeking through the cracks of fear. "A fine job you did ruining it," Ethan retorted bitterly. Suddenly, the tunnel widened, spilling them into a hidden room illuminated by faint light. At the far end, a narrow light flickered. An exit. A way out? But as they rushed towards it, a loud crash echoed behind them, sending a fear sharper than pain through Ethan's heart. "Stay close," Harold yelled, but the wall of darkness at their back felt like destiny closing in. As they lunged closer to the glimmer of freedom, his phone buzzed heavily in his pocket. "Not now," Ethan hissed, brushing it aside in urgency. They dove toward the light, hope colliding with reality as the noise escalated behind them. Just then, a single figure dashed into view, the same man from before, Blake. The smirk on his face amplified horror. "You really thought you could escape? Run!" Lily screamed and instinctively pushed forward, pulling Ethan and his father along just as Blake's voice sliced through the air. "You can't run from blood, Ethan. I'll find you every time." With no time to process the implications of those words, they stumbled into the open. The cool night air rushed over them, the moon hanging like a watchful eye, but they weren't free yet. They bolted into an alley, the darkness shifting menacingly. "I know a place," Harold gasped, out of breath, pointing to a street ahead. "We can hide until we think of a plan." "No. We fix this now," Ethan snapped, forcing his own ragged breath to steady. The anger swelled, fueled by years of silence and secrets. "We fight," he concluded. "I will not run any longer. Tell me everything. If they want a war, they'll get one." Lily's fierce stare met his. "We have to be prepared. No more secrets." Harold nodded, and for the first time, there was a glimmer of trust igniting in his son's eyes, one step toward rebuilding the bond that had been left to decay for too long. Ethan felt the familiar warmth of strength surge within him, ready to take on the storm ahead, determined to face the past and rewrite the narrative. Whatever waited at the crossroads of truth and lies would not break him now. And as they moved into the shadowy night, destiny lured them forward, a tapestry of unknowns unraveling before them, and for the first time, it felt like they might just emerge victorious. Now it's your turn to be part of this amazing journey. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will blow your mind. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and keep these wild tales coming your way. Don't forget to flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this shocking conclusion. And listen up, this is the moment to show your support. Instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this thrilling conclusion. This is your chance. Do not wait even one more second to share. Only true fans make moments like this count.